Hey everybody. So in my last video, I detailed what I typically carry when I'm hiking in the woods in terms of a knife and a pistol. I thought it might be fun today to talk about the opposite end of that spectrum. So what if I'm in town and what if I'm dressed very lightly? And by lightly, I mean shorts, sandals or loafers, a tank top or a t-shirt. A larger handgun, a larger knife is not always appropriate. So I'm talking about times when I'm mowing the lawn or at the beach or running to the gas station. As an ethic, I typically am armed in some way. I don't like to be unarmed. So I feel that the onus is on me to figure out a way to be armed at all times and to be comfortable as well. Obviously, there are a lot of options. I have several different handguns, I have a lot of different knives. I'm a collector. But today I want to go through and show you guys the lightest carry that I ever carry. So I hope you enjoy. And I'm really interested in if you guys are the same way. What do you normally carry when you are trying to be as discreet and as comfortable and wearing as light of clothes as you ever do? So I hope you enjoy. Thanks. All right, so here it is. This knife and this handgun are what I carry for when I am dressing light, and I mean light. So what I have here is a North American Arms 22 Magnum and a Mercator knife or Mercator knife. I don't know how to say it. I've always said Mercator knife. This for me is bare minimum. So, just as an aside, one of my hobbies is I collect what would ostensibly be called a working man's knives or traditional pocket knives from all over the world. So, this Mercator knife or the K55K knife, this comes from Germany. These were produced, my understanding is they really kind of got their start in the late 1800s. And these were primarily used as like a working man's pocket knife, kind of an all around utilitarian blade. They're very simple, they're very well constructed. There was some talk I read about on Wikipedia about how these knives ended up becoming pretty popular with soldiers returning from World War II. They'd encountered these knives in Germany, and then when they came back to the States, they kind of brought a taste for these knives with them. There's even some discussion online about how these knives were used. They're like the knife of choice for what would be described as delinquents. Kids would get into knife fights or rob people, and this was like a common tool they used in the 50s. I don't know whether that's true or not, but kind of stands to reason. The reason that this is a knife that I choose to carry when I am wearing very light clothing is because it is incredibly light, incredibly flat, and has a really good profile for not printing in light clothes like shorts. So you can look at it here. You can see that this keeps the blade from coming open in your shorts. And what's interesting here is that this really is, like, this requires force. I mean, this is really, really tough and will not move on its own. So let's go ahead and let the blade itself. This is like a 3-inch blade, 2.5, 3-inch blade here. You can see it's Solingen, Germany. This is an authentic one. And, holding it in your hand, you don't feel as if it's like not substantial. I mean, it's a really, really tough knife. And, it's a lock blade here, so it's relatively safe. I wouldn't, go out of my way to test it. But in general, this feels really overbuilt. This is an incredibly cool knife, and I carry it often. Again, this is a knife that I carry pretty regularly, but I haven't actually sharpened it, I don't think, ever because rarely, if I'm wearing shorts and out in the summertime or whatever, I don't typically expect to need like a knife for anything. It's just kind of nice to have. So I don't actually use this often in terms of cutting things, but let's go ahead and see if I can. Yeah, so nice and sharp. Go ahead and release the blade here. Okay. Bottom line, it's a knife that is very simple but very, very tough, and one that I choose to carry quite often because it is so very light and it's still a good knife. All right, let's talk about the pistol here. So what we have here is a North American Arms 22 Magnum. This gun is unloaded. I had a commenter say something about that, and he's absolutely right. So I've unloaded this. So there's a lot of discussion about these. Number one, North American Arms. I believe this is made in Utah. It even says here on the side of the gun, Provo, Utah. I've always been kind of interested in small guns, pocket guns. I collect Derringers, in general. North American Arms are widely known for really nice overbuilt guns. For the price here, I think I got this for $200, $250. This is an excellently machined weapon. One of the issues people always talk about with baby guns like this is it's single action. Okay, single action weapons are not particularly fast to reload. To reload this gun, you have to take out the entire cylinder and reload the cylinder. Half cock here and pull out the little pin, and then you go ahead and load this one by one and put it back in. This is a weapon that I normally carry as a backup, but every now and again I'll use it as my primary weapon if the situation calls for it. Again, it's primarily related to the clothing I'm wearing. Some people consider these weapons a novelty. They are, in the sense that Derringers don't really have a place in today's world, especially with tactical guns everybody carries and that kind of thing. That being said, this is a real gun. It shoots 22 mag. Even out of this tiny little barrel, it's got pretty impressive ballistics. People always talk about ballistics as if it's the end-all be-all of everything. If you fire this gun at somebody at an appropriate range, they'll be hurt. They'll probably stop their attack. If you point this at somebody and fire it, there's going to be a problem. This is not my first choice for self-defense. However, if the situation calls for incredibly light clothing, it is better to have this for me than to be completely unarmed. So it's pretty much a last-ditch defense weapon. But, not for nothing, I've taken it out shooting, and, at 4 or 5 yards, it blows through 2x4s. I mean, I don't know. Again, I'm not a doctor or a ballistic analyst. What do I know? But I do believe that this could conceivably be a decent self-defense option if it was the only thing you had. Certainly lethal. The main reason I carry this, though, is because it is so incredibly light. You can put it in your pocket. I have a holster for it that I carry on the outside of my belt. But I'll be honest with you, more often than not, when I carry this weapon, I carry it unsecured in my pocket. There are ways to carry this weapon safely. Most modern single actions have a safety transfer bar that allows you to rest the hammer down and don't really have to worry about an accidental discharge. It used to be back in the day, you would carry a weapon like this with a hammer down on an empty cylinder. Nowadays, with modern single actions, you don't really have to do that. This is a little bit different. Because of the size of this weapon, there are some limitations. So I'll show you quickly the way that you can, in theory, carry this gun safely. Okay, so let me see if we can see this. Bottom line is there is, in between every cylinder, there's a little safety notch. I don't know if you can see that. And so if you have the hammer resting on that safety notch, that is the way that you're meant to carry this, so there's no possibility of that hammer resting on a live round. Now, to be honest with you, getting it to that point is a little sketchy. You have to practice. I practiced a long time with this gun unloaded in order to figure it out. Because you have to pull the hammer back in order to rotate this. And obviously, if it were to go forward, it probably won't go off, but also it might. So you have to be very, very careful and point this in a safe direction when you're trying to render this gun safe. I will do it quickly off camera and show you what it looks like. This gun is now, in theory, ready to carry safely. You can see that there are cylinders on either side of the hammer, and what that shows you is that it's resting in the middle on a safety notch. So there couldn't be a round there that I could touch. It's right here as opposed to being on the back of the round. So in general, this is my summertime light clothing carry. Hopefully I would never have to use any of these again for defense. But for what it's worth, I believe this is better than nothing. And I think in general, that is kind of the ethic of self-defense. Most people don't have the means to carry around something for every conceivable situation. Is it perfect? No, but it's what works for me. So I'd be very curious as to what you guys think and what you guys carry for your extremely light days. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.